Hi, everybody. Welcome to Evolve, where we focus on the evolution of leadership. I'm Kim Ford, your host, and I'm really excited for you to meet today's guest. Could you please introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kim. My name's Stacey Weniger. I'm the president of Sentinel Construction. We are I would call us a boutique GC here in the Pittsburgh market. We do a little bit more than your typical GC, where we get really involved in the early stages of a project. We provide design build, design assist services, and we are excited to be here talking with you this morning.
What is your sweet spot? Are you just doing office work? Do you do office and industrial? And do you do interiors and new builds? Kind of where do you fall in that GC range?
Yeah, so our primary focus, I would say, is office and healthcare. With the pandemic, things have kind of shifted around as far as the balance. Prior to the pandemic, we did a lot of office work, and also healthcare, but healthcare seems to be the project type that really got going faster as we're, kind of moving on to the next phase. Into this endemic role. We do everything from ground up construction to tenant fit outs. We, like I said, provide design assist. So that means, really getting in there before the project is even beyond a concept level. We've even had developers with their site selection to find, the right place for a particular project type. We help with lease negotiations from the construction, standpoint, as far as helping to make those terms work. So we really kind of do it all over here.
Yeah. And are there any projects that you could mention that people might be familiar with in the Pittsburgh region?
Yeah, there's a couple of projects that we have ongoing right now. One of the bigger projects that we have done and are currently working on is the new AHN Wellness Center out in North Fayette. It's the old Latitude 360 space.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a really interesting project because you're basically taking an entertainment facility and turning it into a very high-tech medical space, doing a number of women's services there, but a primary one is in vitro fertilization, which requires extremely sterile and safe conditions to make sure that, embryos are not damaged in any way. So it's definitely interesting going from, like I said, an entertainment facility to something that specialized, but it's a great project. And, another one that we just finished that a lot of people have seen is it's actually a parking garage for the new AHN Wexford Hospital. If anyone's been there, you've probably seen that parking is a little tight. So that garage was a big deal, especially because they asked us to deliver it early when we were even on a extremely tight schedule to begin with. And fortunately, we were able to successfully deliver that early. And the next day it was completely full, and they gave us a call about potentially starting another one.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. I know we actually visit that facility a lot. It's incredible. It's so well done. And I actually say all the time, I think it's really convenient the way it's designed. And obviously they had the opportunity to design it from scratch. They're not working with a 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old hospital that they're trying to figure out how to renovate to make it more efficient. So yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, we go there all the time for everything. So, well, thank you. It's, when I look back at your history and kind of where you came from, what made you switch from finance to commercial real estate and commercial construction?
Yeah, so whenever I was a commercial real estate lender, I actually primarily focused on construction lending. And the favorite parts of my job were, of course, working with the numbers. I'm a big numbers nerd. But, what was really exciting is watching a project get out of the ground. And then also when the project's completed, you have a physical structure that basically shows all of the hard work that your whole project team put into it. And you can see it, you can tell people about it, people understand it. And so it's just something that's really satisfying. So how Sentinel actually came about was I was having lunch with my now two business partners who at the time were clients, and they were talking about some of the challenges that they work for a large developer. And they were talking about some of the challenges that they were having with some of the GCs they worked with. And I had heard similar stories from some of my other clients. And we started talking about, why we were kind of thinking this way. And my partner's background is both of them had worked for large GCs. They then moved to the development side. Like I said, I've been on the construction finance side for 16 years. And, we really have just a unique breadth of understanding of the development process, the construction process, making the numbers and the pro forma work. And, that was what we kind of felt was missing, was just, a GC that really understood every single aspect of the project. And so we just thought, well, maybe we should do this, and we're kind of joking around. And then it's like, hold on, maybe we actually could do this.
Right. It started off with like this kind of funny possibility, and it was like, wow, realistically, this could actually occur. That's
Yes.
great. That's exciting. And what's been your biggest hurdle so far in a leadership role?
Yeah, well, the biggest hurdle really has been market acceptance, because all of us have, a really strong network here in Pittsburgh, which obviously is part of what gave us the confidence to go out on our own, but people wonder, like, well, you were on the construction finance side, they were with developers, like, really explaining our story and getting that out there so they understand kind of our thought process on starting the company and how we think we can actually add value to our clients by taking a different approach. There really hasn't been a whole lot of new entrants to the GC market. Most of the companies have been around for 20 plus years or are multi-generational, so it was a challenge breaking in, but we had some people that really believed in us and gave us a chance, and the projects went well, and it just kind of took off from there.
That's exciting. And how do you guide your customers through the construction process? Is there like a secret sauce? Obviously, project management is a significant piece. Do you have like one designated person? How does it work within your firm?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, so there's me and I have two partners. I handle basically the business side of our company, and my partners are kind of divide and conquer on the operational side. Mike Weniger kind of handles all of our office type projects and what I would say, other like the parking garage or, some specialty projects like we're working on the University of Pittsburgh's chiller plant. And then Mike Pfeiffer really has I would say he's probably the most experienced project executive on the healthcare side in our region. He built Children's Hospital, he built UPMC East. So he really brings a ton of knowledge on the healthcare side. So we try to together actually get a really deep understanding of what our clients are trying to achieve from a programming schedule and budget standpoint. Like I said, some of our clients, they want help like from the beginning, from site selection, choosing their consultants and providing design assist services. But, other projects such as tenant fit outs, the main focus is budget, schedule, so that we can make sure that that lease gets signed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what are some of the most common mistakes customers make?
I think probably the most common that people make is thinking that going out for a lump sum bid is going to be the most cost efficient way to go about a project. They think, oh, well, if you have 3 GCs bidding on the project and you go with the lowest cost, it's going to be the most cost efficient. Well, we actually have seen that to be quite the opposite because, like, as I said, we provide so much assistance where we value engineer projects, come up with different ideas of like, hey, have you thought of using this particular product instead, where there's cost savings, instead of just getting the plans and specs and just basically pricing it and here's your number. We completed 2 medical office buildings. This was a couple of years ago, but it was a great case study. We still use it all the time. One, we provided design assistance and had a negotiated GMP with pre-construction services, and the other one was a lump sum bid. The one that was a lump sum bid came in at $175 per square foot. The one where we provided design assist came in at $112 per square foot. I mean, it was a huge difference. And so we really, try to, help our clients understand the value that we can bring, when we're able to kind of get in there a little bit earlier.
That makes sense. Now everybody's talking about supply chain and construction costs. Is it really a problem? Is it being inflated? Tell us the truth, please.
Yeah. So it is interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that it's been kind of unpredictable, where you'll see that obtain one material one week, the next week you can't get that one, but then you can get something else that you couldn't get previously. I mean, the only thing that we have seen to be consistent is the materials that require multiple people or company to touch the product, like a valve or air exchange unit. Those have been taking longer because they just go through just so many more hands before you get the final product. But quite honestly, we haven't had really too many issues. One being, like mentioning that North Fayette project where we've been involved early, we kind of flushed out the items that we were going to have lead time issues with and came up with alternatives ahead of time so that we were able to avoid running into that during the construction process. Like, we purchased steel on that project before we even knew who our steel sub was going to be. And then we basically sold the steel to the sub.
Absolutely.
But again, it was helpful because we were in there early and we didn't have, we had some say in, the specs and the overall design in that project to make sure that we were able to avoid some of the bottlenecks that people have been running into.
That makes sense. And what other challenges do you think the construction industry itself faces right now?
I think other than supply and cost issues that we've seen, it's something that we talk a lot about here in Pittsburgh. It's been something we've talked about since prior to the pandemic, which is the skilled trades.
Okay.
Right now we're not having a huge issue with it, but we can see it. In the next 10 years, it's definitely going to be an issue as we see, some people that retire and then people have been rolling off, like the Great Resignation and people finding, following their passion and starting their different jobs and things. And, with skilled trades, you don't have that as much because they're so skilled in what they do. But, you're just not seeing the numbers of people that you need to go into the apprenticeships, joining the trades. And it's something that we really try to push because these are such great jobs with great benefits. And you can get started right out of high school, and have a full-blown career and be done with your apprenticeship within 4 years. And you're making a really good living.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just last week, my painter, and he's an older gentleman. We've been using him forever, right? We're loyal. And he's just his shoulders bothering him. And he said, you know what? Do you know any places I could drive a truck? Yeah. So it's such a great example. He has spent his entire career. He has his own business. He does really well. But he's getting older and looking for potentially an easier opportunity. But at the same time, do you think it's maybe the to some degree the fault of society and parents? Because parents, we both have children, and we want that title, right? The kid, be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. They have to have this title. When in fact, my plumber was here the other day, and my plumber's a young lady straight out of school. And I was so excited to see her under my because it's a great job. And I think to a certain degree, kids are being educated that there are other amazing careers that you can go into right away, that you can actually even own your own company and be very successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see where that's a huge problem.
Yeah, because many of our subcontractors, they, have a specialty like plumbing, and then they were able to start their own company. And it's, I think a great place to go, especially because we see the future demand. Right. It's not construction, we talk about like robotics and all the advances in technology and everything, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
No, it's not going to take over everything, right? There's still going to be skilled trade and skilled labor. And at the same time, it's just, I think there's so many people that are missing this opportunity because they're forced into something else, told that's not good enough. When in fact they could actually make, they want to be, let's just say, a psychologist or a counselor. I'm like, okay, do you know what a counselor makes? And then do you know what a skilled, you could make double or triple.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so it's mind blowing. I just think part of the issue is just schools. They're just not doing a good enough job, and families aren't doing a good enough job informing kids of all the opportunities and what those look like. I mean, somebody said to me the other day, why don't we hold like a training session on commercial real estate so that at high schools, to
Yep.
classes, so they understand there's 20, 30 different careers you can go into that are involved in our field. And they don't even know about those. They don't know, they never even think of one of them. Maybe engineer,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, I was actually the first person in my family to go to college. My dad worked shift work at a chemical plant in Houston, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And, so I understood that part of careers and everything. But again, it was still like this pressure of like, oh, well, you should go to college and everything, which I think for me was the right decision, but it's not the right decision for everybody. My
Right.
sister ended up going into more of a skilled profession, and that's worked out really well for her. And I just think we need to kind of get back to, that whole thought process of working with your hands and creating something is, really just a great place for some people to work.
Absolutely. And how do you think the industry has changed and evolved during the pandemic and I think going forward?
Yeah, so it kind of goes with, what I've seen change really has kind of been dependent on some of the issues that we've had with supply chain or, construction costs. So we're, really hyper aware of that. We have, as I mentioned, changed particular materials or even the design depending on lead times. So architects, end users have all become a lot more flexible with their basis of design, because it's more important to meet the budget and the a schedule than it is to have this exact particular carpet type.
Right, right.
And I mean, that's obviously a simple part of it, but it it really is having the need for flexibility within the entire project team. Another thing is we have been pricing more alternates than we ever have before, so that does take a lot more work, but it's really needed because as you're especially when you're working on some of these larger projects, you don't buy out the whole project on day one. It kind of, you buy it out as you go. And you might have some cost savings where you can then upgrade something, or you may need to pull something back. And by having these this list of alternates, it really helps manage that as well.
That makes sense. Do you have any advice for other business leaders as they evolve in this post-pandemic, or we hope post-pandemic world?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody always, I don't know. It's like those little things you learn along the way. And, some people's are really similar, but I think a lot of leaders are struggling right now. I think they're struggling in a lot of different ways, and they love to hear from other people like you.
Yeah, it's funny because I do think a lot of people are struggling in different ways. And I've been talking to people and asking, kind of the same question. I asked somebody the other day, which I don't know the answer to this. I was just trying to kind of judge my own performance, like, how am I doing? How am I leading the company through this? Am I doing a good job? Because I don't get an annual review. And so it's like, is my performance just solely based on the bottom line, how much money we make? Like, I don't really think so. I think it's just so much more to being a successful business owner than just the bottom line. Right. And I have struggled with trying to figure out what I'm trying to measure up to. Yeah. And I have not found a good answer to that. So if you have an answer or know somebody with an answer to that, I think that would be helpful, because by not really having a good understanding of how you feel like you're performing, I think it kind of opens your mind to just challenges of, it can open minds to challenges such as self-doubt, imposter syndrome, like Absolutely. All these things where it's like, do I know what I'm doing here?
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's looking at the holistic picture and really defining what kind of company you want to be and what your goals are. And I think once you really define what that looks like, I think your measurements, they're not necessarily quantifiable like a typical, to me, if I were to be in the construction business, I would want to be extremely different because everybody cares about that's all they care about. It's all about the revenue. When in the end of the game, there are other factors that you should be thinking about, such as even wellness, right? You need to keep your team and everybody healthy. You need to be supportive of all your subs and all the people that you depend on to get these projects done. So how do you achieve those goals? And I think your measurements might not be necessarily quantifiable, but maybe they're measured in other ways. So I don't know. I think it's more of a deep dive into self-analysis of what's really important. Like what's, some companies, their goal is to be the biggest. Other companies, their goal is to be really great at a discipline and to be that person. And I think once you define really that as you continue to grow in Pittsburgh, I think it'll all come together. I think you just have to get there a little bit further.
Yeah, but I think that's really a good point, because that is a reminder of our culture and how we operate here, where, part of our strategy is not only just having this kind of breadth of knowledge and unique backgrounds, but really taking a more collaborative approach to construction, and where we engage the whole project team. We don't engage in some of that like old school GC type behavior where you're just screaming at people and jamming things down their throat and who's the biggest, guy on the block kind of thing. We don't operate like that.
I would hope not.
We treat our subs as a partner. If they run into a challenge on a job, we help them figure it out. It isn't like, oh, well, sorry, you missed it in your bid. It's your problem, eat it. We really work with them to solve the problems. And, I think that has actually quite helped us and therefore helped our clients, because I think when you have good relationships with your subs and they want to work with you, they'll go the extra mile or they'll knock part of the price off or whatever so that we get the business and they get to work with us. So that's been something that's really important. And, as a result, we have we have a ton of repeat business. I think all of our clients, we've done multiple projects with them at this point. And, so that's definitely something that we're proud of.
That's significant in itself. I've always looked at it that way, as a repeat customer tells you something and you should listen to that. And you should also make sure you ask for the stuff you don't want to know, right? Like where can we improve? Because it's only going to allow you to grow and be better at what you do. And to me, that's how you flourish as a company. And it sounds like you're doing all the right things. So I am really excited to watch you continue your growth. And I love seeing this. I just saw your sign this weekend. So I love seeing it. And, it's really exciting. Our goal with Evolve is to really help leaders to learn, connect, and grow together. And I can't thank you enough, Stacey, for spending time with us today, and look forward to seeing your future.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.